Wonder begins with a montage of various shots set to a voiceover. I chose to use these particular shots as opposed to the shots in my previous edits, as I felt they strengthened my protagonist's connection to nature, which was a strong theme in my film. Despite not being intrinsically linked to my themes, I decided to include the two shots of the photographs. There were several reasons for this, the main being that my two textual analysis films were both based around true events, and in taking inspiration from them, I decided to include fragments of the real life of my actor, these taking the form of photographs. I decided to use the shot of my character drinking tea, which was seen from behind tulips, as I wanted to show that even when my character was away from the wilderness and doing mundane everyday activities, such as drinking tea, nature was still very much in the foreground of his life. In terms of mise-en-scene, I based the inclusion of books shown in this shot around the book that Chris is shown to be reading in Into the Wild. As I identified in my textual analysis, Chris is reading a book called Call of the Wild. This is very symbolic to Chris's journey and reflects a lot of his character. As such, I decided to do the same in my film, using 3 books. 2 about woodland plants and animals, and a third about travelling, to reflect my own character's journey and his desire to experience nature. A lot of my character's thoughts, as well as the majority of Wanda's narrative, is explained through the use of voiceover. This is also a key feature in Into the Wild.
There was clearly felt the presence of a force not bound
In the
to
film,
man.
Chris's insights are profound and introspective.
It was a place of heathenism and superstitious rites, to be inhabited.
And I tried to
by
mimic
men,
this tone in
nearer
Wanda's
into the
monologue.
rocks, into
I
the
wanted my
wild
protagonist to
animals.
reflect on his life himself, and make his thoughts seem equally insightful. I wanted to portray the idea that in seeking freedom, my protagonist's understanding of the world and himself had expanded.
We grow, we change. It's natural.
I felt that my choice of music was also very important to setting the tone of each scene, especially at the end of my film. For the closing scene, I chose to use You Me Dancing by Los Campesinos. So I felt a strong connection to the introduction to this song. For me, it created the hazy, nostalgic feeling of lazy summer days, and the rays of the sun as it began to set, carrying with it a sense of hope, the feeling that something big, something good was about to happen. This was the kind of feeling that I wanted to create in the ending of my film. The idea that an adventure wasn't beginning, but continuing. The choice of music in both of my texture analysis films reflected the emotions felt by the characters in my chosen scenes. The choice of music in Into the Wild felt raw and primal, a reflection of what Chris was trying to reduce his life to, something natural. Whilst The Way Back mimicked the desperation felt by the characters in needing to reach the lake, and the climax in search of hope as they at last reached that vital landmark. As I stated in my evaluation, my use of close-up panning shots, which were linked by crossfades, were heavily inspired by my chosen scene from Into the Wild. For me, those shots signify Chris's nearness to the feeling of ultimate freedom, and I wanted to mimic this in my own film. I chose to continue alternating between shots of my young and old characters to show that in reconnecting with himself, my protagonist has reached freedom. The ending of Wanda was strongly inspired by both the ending of Into the Wild, where Chris imagines returning home to his parents, and the recurring imaginings of a main character in The Way Back, who hallucinates returning home to his wife. In my own film, I alternated between shots of the young and old versions of my protagonist, in order to give the feeling that the older protagonist was retracing the steps of his younger self, and as such reconnecting with his childhood.